Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to start our journey of learning clinical research from the basics to the important concepts that every beginner should know. The topic is Introduction of Clinical Research in Healthcare. So we will start from the definition of clinical research. Clinical research refers to a branch of healthcare science that involves the study of human volunteers to determine the safety and efficacy of new drugs, devices, diagnostics, and treatment protocols. So when a new medicine or treatment is discovered, we can't give it directly to patients. First, we must test it carefully. So these tests are done with human volunteers. The people who agree to help researchers understand the effects of the new product. Researchers look at safety. Does it actually cause any side effects? And efficacy. Does it actually work? For example, before COVID-19 vaccine was given to everyone, it went through several clinical research studies to make sure it was both safe and effective. So there are objectives of clinical research. The first one is to evaluate new drug molecules or treatment procedures. In clinical research, we test new medicines or new ways of treatment to see if they really work and if they are safe for people. The second one is to assess the safety and effectiveness of medical interventions. If a new cancer drug is discovered, researchers assess its safety. Does it have serious side effects? Then they assess its effectiveness. Does it actually help patients to recover? The next is to determine appropriate dosage and side effects profile. In clinical research, we find out how much of a medicine should be given to patients and what side effects it can cause. The fourth one is to discover new indications for existing drugs. So clinical research helps find new uses for medicines that are already in use for other diseases. For example, medicine aspirin. It was first used to reduce pain and fever, but later research discovered that it can also help prevent heart attacks in some patients. The next is to improve diagnosis, prevention, and management of diseases. Clinical research helps make better ways to identify diseases early, stop them from spreading, and treat them more effectively. Sixth, to monitor long-term effects and real-world use. Post-marketing studies. So even after a medicine is approved and sold, researchers continue to study it to check how it works in real life and whether it causes any side effects over time. The next part is stakeholders in clinical research. So in clinical research involves multiple stakeholders working collaboratively to ensure a trial is scientifically valid, ethically conducted, and regulatory compliant. The first one is sponsor. A person, company, institution, or organization, often a pharmaceutical or biotech company, that initiates and funds the clinical trial. The second one is investigator, or we can call principal investigator, a qualified medical professional responsible for conducting the trial at a specific site. Then, clinical research coordinator. Clinical research coordinator works under principal investigator to manage daily trial activities at the site. Then clinical research associate. He or she hired by the sponsor or CRO to monitor the trial's progress at sites. Then contract research organization, a third party company hired by sponsor to conduct various trial related activities. And then the trial participants, which are subjects, healthy volunteers, or patients who consent to participate in clinical trial. Institutional Ethics Committee or Institutional Review Board, an independent committee consisting of clinicians, legal experts, and scientists. Then the biostatisticians who designed statistical methodology for the trial. Then clinical data management team. The team developed case report form or electronic data capture system used to collect study data. Pharmacovigilance team who monitor, assess, and report adverse drug reactions. Then Regulatory authorities. In India, there is a DCGI and CDSCO. DCGI, the full form is Drug Controller General of India, the head authority in India who gives permission to start clinical trials and approves new drugs and vaccines. Then CDSCO, the full form is Central Drug Standard Control Organization. It's the national regulatory body for medicines and clinical trials in India. In USA, there is FDA, Food and Drug Administration. Then in European Union, European Medicines Agency. Global guidelines from ICH, GCP and WHO. ICH is a global organization that makes common guidelines for conducting clinical trials in different countries. GCP, Good Clinical Practice, a set of ethical and scientific rules that tell researchers how to conduct clinical trials properly. Medical writers write protocols, case narratives, clinical study reports. Then the next part is the importance of clinical research. So here is the first one, development of new treatments. Clinical research is essential for discovering new drugs, vaccines and therapies that can cure or manage diseases. Then ensuring safety and efficacy. Before a new treatment reaches the market, clinical research rigorously tests it for safety, dosage and effectiveness. Then improvement of patient care. Provides evidence-based information to doctors and healthcare providers, helps optimize existing treatment protocols and improve quality of life for patients. Understanding diseases better. Clinical research helps unravel the causes, progression and risk factors of diseases. Regulatory compliance and public trust. Ensures treatments meet rigorous scientific and ethical standards required by regulators like FDA, DCGI and EMA. Builds public confidence in medical innovations through transparent and ethical research. Economic and social impact. So promotes growth in pharmaceutical and healthcare sectors, creates employment opportunities in research, healthcare, data management and regulatory affairs. Global health advancement. Clinical research addresses global health challenges like infectious diseases, cancer, chronic illness, then facilitates development of vaccines and therapies for emerging diseases, for example COVID-19. Then the next part is clinical trial. In clinical trial, first is a definition. A trial is a carefully designed research study conducted with human volunteers to evaluate the safety, efficacy and side effects of new medical treatments, drugs, devices or interventions. Clinical trials follow strict protocols and regulatory guidelines to ensure scientifically valid results while protecting the rights and well-being of participants. So, a clinical trial is a planned study done on people to test new medicines or treatments. It follows strict rules to make sure the results are scientifically correct and that participants remain safe and respected throughout the process. So there are some phases in clinical trials. The first is phase 0, exploratory or microdosing phase. The purpose of this phase is preliminary human testing with very small doses to understand pharmacokinetics, how the drug moves through the body. The participants involved are less than 15 healthy volunteers. Then the next phase is phase 1. It is performed for safety and dosage. The purpose is assess safety, tolerability and pharmacokinetics, find the appropriate dose range. 20 to 100 healthy volunteers are involved, sometimes patients. The next is phase 2 for efficacy and side effects. The purpose is evaluate the drug's efficacy and further assess safety in patients with the target disease. 100 to 300 patients are involved in phase 2. In phase 3, confirmatory trials. Purpose is confirm efficacy, monitor side effects, compare with standard treatments. About 300 to 3,000 plus patients are involved in phase 3. Phase 4, it is called post-marketing surveillance. The purpose is monitor long-term safety and effectiveness after the drug is marketed. Participants are thousands of patients in the general population. So this diagram shows the workflow of clinical trial phases. The first is preclinical trial phase. In that animal models are used. This is the first step in development of a new drug. Then the phase 1 trial. The next is phase 2 trial, phase 3 trial, and after phase 3 trial and before phase 4 post marketing, there is a new drug application. If the phase 3 trial is successful, the sponsor applies for new drug application to the FDA. This process includes a review of the proposed professional labeling and inspection of the manufacturing. If the review is favorable, the FDA may approve the drug for marketing, phase 4 or post-marketing. The next part is essential documents in clinical research. These documents are categorized based on ICGCP, International Council for Harmonization, Good Clinical Practice, guidelines which are widely followed internationally. In first, before the clinical trial starts, the documents required for regulatory and administrative approvals are clinical trial protocol, ethics committee or IRB approval letter, regulatory authority approval, for example DCGI in India, FDA in the USA, AMA in the Europe, clinical trial agreement between sponsor and site, investigators brochure, then site authorization letter, participant documentation, informed consent form, and patient information sheet. For trial management tools, case report forms, then monitoring plan, data management plan. During the clinical trial, the documents required are signed informed consent forms, source documents like medical records, lab reports, etc. Completed CRFs, then adverse event or serious adverse event reports, monitoring visit reports. Then after the clinical trial ends, end of study notification to ethics committee or IRB and regulatory authority, clinical study report, site closure letter, data log and statistical analysis report. So we will discuss all these essential documents and all the topics in detail in the next videos. If you want to join a course to learn the basics of clinical research, I have shared the registration link below. You can also join our Telegram channel for updates. Thank you.